Hi there, welcome to the channel or welcome back. My name is Angela and I'm growing here in my Zone 6 garden, southwestern Ohio in the US. And a garden update is long overdue, so that is what we're going to do today. If that sounds interesting, stick around. So when I say update, there's not really a whole lot to update you guys on. It's been a while since my last post and I've still been harvesting some tomatoes and peppers, and that's probably about it. A couple of squash, and like a lot of you guys this year, the garden struggled a lot, primarily because of weather issues. For us here, in particular in our area, we had severe drought all summer, or pretty much from mid to late June on. We were lucky to get rain, like two small rains all throughout maybe July and August, something like that. I was tracking it and I have the notes in my garden journal, but I think we went close to 2 months at one point with maybe one slight little sprinkle. Or if not, it was very close to 2 months. So needless to say, I was out here watering a lot, and the watering that I can provide my garden doesn't come close to what Mother Nature will do for the garden. So there were some struggles for sure, but what I would like to focus on today, I thought it might be nice to let you guys know about the successes that I had in the garden this year. I was getting really close to burnout, not just feeling a little overwhelmed, but just like all out, full on burnout this year. And then I kind of tried to change my thinking to look at all the successes that I had. So I've got some notes here on my paper and I thought it might be fun. I'll show you guys what I still have growing, and then I'm going to talk about the things that did well in this very, very trying year. And I saw an article, a news article from one of the, I think, Columbus, Ohio newspapers that referred to this year being, I don't want to get this wrong, and if I do get this wrong, I'll correct myself on the screen here, but that it was the worst drought in Ohio's history in like 100 years or something like that. I think it was something crazy like that. I will find that article and I'll link to it below and correct myself if I got that wrong. But let's take a look at what's still on in the garden. I'm going to flip the camera and let's go. All right, so as we're heading up into the garden, I'm going to show you guys all the watermelons that I still have on. And if I'm being honest, I haven't harvested any yet, but I think maybe we're getting close. They're small. These ones, I have two here that are, sorry about that, to get the camera to focus in, Crimson Sweet, and then I've got a couple that are, I believe these are Sangria, and there's another one kind of lower down there, and then I've got one right in there, and this one is, I believe that one's Baby Doll. So that's pretty good for me. The most watermelons I've ever had succeed in one year were maybe like two. So if we can eat all five of those, that'll be doing pretty good. And over here on one of my long beds, I still do have some tomatoes on, mostly cherry sized tomatoes, and they are still green. I've been harvesting a lot of cherry tomatoes. I do have some, if you can see back there, I do still have a couple of larger sized tomatoes on as well. And kind of same with, let me back up, this row in front of my fencing here is mostly tomatoes. There's still a bunch on, a few at least. And on the other side of that fencing is a few more tomato plants. So those are doing pretty good. My pepper plants made a full recovery, and that is one of the things I'm going to talk about here in a minute that did well this year. So this is a pepper called Glow. These are so good. I've grown those for a few years now. Sweet peppers, really, really good, so sweet. Got a few other pepper plants here that still have peppers on. And walking over to the other side here, got a couple of pepper plants here. One is rainforest chili, and these little peppers here, aren't they darling? They're so tiny. They're hot peppers. They're called Bikino Yellow. I'm going to show you the name. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I would call that Bikino Yellow. But I've grown this for years now, several years, and prolific. Got cayennes, a bunch of cayennes that are still on. And then this plant here in the back is the rainforest chili pepper. My first year to really have success with that one. I've harvested a couple of those, and all of these there are hot peppers. Got some peppers here. I think that that's Tabasco, but I'm not sure if they're going to really mature in time. They might. And this last pepper plant is my Sugar Rush peach. It's done really well. This is the plant that I overwintered from last year. I grew it from seed last year, overwintered the plant, and I think that was smart. It gave it a good head start. It's been pretty prolific, and these are greenish yellow right now, but when they're ripe they do turn peach color, and they do pack a little bit of heat too, or a lot of heat. Can't remember what the Scoville units are on that one, but it's pretty hot. They do well in a hot sauce. And most everything else either has died off or I've harvested it already. And I'm going to go have a seat over here on my little porch. I love my little shed porch here. I spend many an hour sitting on here on these chairs. Not every day, of course, but usually at least once a week I try to get some porch time in. I'm going to flip the camera around and talk about what went well this year. Yeah, so I am just chilling out on this gorgeous day. We're having a very cool day, so this might be our coolest day yet of the year. It's October 7th, I believe. Yep, 7th. And I think the high was only going to be mid-60s, but it's going to get hotter after today, so today's kind of a little abnormally extra cool. But I'm going to be referring to my list here and kind of sharing with you guys some of the things that did really well in my garden this year. So I talked about the peppers and that I would tell you more about that. So let's start with that. My peppers got off to kind of a bad start this year just because even though we had a drought all summer, pretty much all summer, in the spring we had so much rain that there was flooding. So that delayed me being able to get them out. So they got set out a little bit later than normal, which kind of stunted them a little, and it was cool. So they don't really like the cool temperatures that much either. But they really made a good comeback. I kind of had written them off at one point, but they really, really made a comeback. And so I'm so happy that I got a good pepper harvest. And I think other than my cherry tomatoes, the peppers are what I've pulled the most of this year. And speaking of tomatoes, the cherry tomatoes grew like gangbusters for the most part. They kind of had a little bit of a similar situation as the peppers as far as getting set out late. But you know, some of them made a comeback and some of them didn't really thrive. But I got a lot of cherry tomatoes. I'm eating them every day in my salads, which is so nice. And I had success with some new to me varieties, which I'll share with you here. One of them is called Chef's Choice Orange, full-size tomato, and it does get like a rich orange color when it's ripe. It's beautiful, it tastes good. And then the other one that I'm really thrilled with are the Tropical Sunset. Those are cherry-sized tomatoes. They're kind of orange and yellow, red, striated skin color. Really sweet, so good. So I had a couple of new varieties, and that's really nice. I'm going to take a peek here at my notes. My basil plants did really well. I grew 4 varieties of basil, And as easy as basil is to grow, I don't always have great success with it just due to pest pressure. But this year, all of my plants did really well. So I was really happy with that. Nothing better than cooking with fresh basil, is there? And I talked to you about the watermelons, so that's good. And and kind of two big wins for me. I had my first successful squash plant in a few years. Now, kind of like basil, you might be thinking squash is so easy to grow. What's the problem? I have huge pest problems here with it, and I try to use as few chemicals, be as organic as possible. So I had some squash plants that did well. I was so happy that I got to have fresh out of my garden squash this year, so that was nice. Yeah, it had been a couple of years at least, so I was happy about that. And maybe that one of the most exciting things of all is that I grew celery for the first time. I've done celery seeding before and even gotten to the point of transplanting it, but I didn't really, I guess, give it all the care or the conditions that it needed. But this year I had multiple celery plants that thrived. So we ate fresh celery, cooked with fresh celery, and that to me was so exciting. So that might be like my biggest win this year of all. I would love to know what has done best for you this summer in your garden, and are things kind of winding down? Because I'm feeling so much burnout, and because the state of my garden as I look around it right now is ragtag, it's a mess. I am not doing any fall planting, any succession planting. I might do some kale and spinach seeding. I'm not sure yet, but I think I'm just going to try to do some more cleanup and then just let it go, and then in the spring I'll reassess. I'm kind of, after all the troubles of this year, thinking that I want to really downscale what I grow next year. Maybe just a few tomato plants, a couple of pepper plants, and maybe just that and call it a day. And then just throw a bunch of wildflower seeds into all my beds and let that kind of take over for next year. Give the soil a little bit of a rest and just work on, building up the soil, continuing to tidy things up, and just kind of be a year of recuperation and infrastructure. So that's how I'm feeling right now. Although I know when February comes along and it's seeding time, the bug is going to get me and I'm going to go crazy seeding. So I have to watch this video then and remind myself that I and the garden probably need a year of rest a little bit. And I talked about our major problem here that impacted so many farmers and gardeners was the drought. I know that that wasn't the case in a lot of areas, especially in the southeast, and even my relatives in Kentucky, which is my original home state, central Kentucky, got a ton of rain. They were having the opposite problem, which still, can impact your garden and your farm negatively if you're getting too much rain. So it's one of those things we can't control, and we just try to do the best that we can. And if I do end up doing spinach, kale, or some other greens, maybe chard over the winter, I'm going to do them over in the greenhouse right here, I think. And we'll see how that goes. I did some seed starting in the greenhouse this year for the first time, but I don't think I've ever tried to grow anything over the winter in there. But I'm going to try that if I get my motivation up to seed some things. I think right now I just really want to get it cleaned up. I went to Home Depot earlier today and bought some mulch, and I'm still mulching, and that way I know it'll break down a little bit over the winter, but I feel like I'm going to start the spring out with kind of a clean slate, once the snow melts, and you might have to do some leaf blowing, but I'll have a clean slate and I won't have to worry about starting off the year with a garden that needs to be completely mulched, because I will have done it in the fall. I mean, I might need to to top it off in a few little areas, but nothing like a major overhaul. So still working on that. And I did also buy some pumpkins and mums at Home Depot. I have gone run like hot and cold. Make sure my camera's still running there. I've gone hot and cold with mums over the years. And a couple of years ago I said enough, I'm not going to buy mums anymore because they don't come back, at least not the kind that they sell in the fall for fall decorating. And I stuck to that for a few years, but we are going to be doing a big like Halloween type get together later this month, and I thought, you know, it might be nice just to really get the place spruced up. So I bought some decorative pumpkins and mums. I'm going to get those planted before we sign off today. That's all over there in the front of the house. I will take you over there, show you what I got, even though I haven't really arranged it as nicely as I will. That'll come probably this weekend. So I hope that you've had some successes with your garden this year. Let me know what those are again in the comments. I love chatting with you guys in the comments. I'm sorry that this video is so late in coming. It's just been like all of us, life is full, thankfully, and this kept getting pushed back to the wayside, and I kept feeling like I didn't really have anything valuable or worthwhile to share with you guys because the plants were kind of starting to die off, and just harvesting those last tomatoes coming in, a pepper here and there, and I don't want to waste your time if I don't have anything to share with you. So if you're ready, let's go ahead and take a look at those pumpkins and mums. I'll meet you over at the front of the house. So here we are, kind of looking at the house over there, and we have our front little walkway here, which I like to decorate, you know, the edges of. So I've got, I just bought 3 mums, not too many. Those are all right there, different sizes, and I'm going to get those planted into some planters, which I'll show you here in a second. But take a look at this pumpkin. It's kind of a very pale orange, but mostly yellow. I thought that was so pretty. And then I've got a couple that are right up there. And I know my place needs a lot of cleanup. I'm going to back up. This walkway gets covered in leaves just because there's trees that overhang everywhere. We bought this place 12 years ago primarily because of the trees, so I'm not going to complain about the leaves, but it does mean a lot of maintenance. And then I have a medium-sized one there. So cleanup will be forthcoming, just not yet. But this is a planter. It's a ceramic planter that I picked up a little while ago, getting ready to fill it with soil. I got it for 25% off, which was a great deal. I always look for deals, and I try to never pay full price or anything. If I see something I like, I wait till it goes on sale, unless it already is very reasonably priced, of course. And then I have a small orange there and a little white one there. And then that's another planter, that white, sort of a low squatty planter there. I don't know if I'm going to keep it in that area. I am going to keep it up here near the front of the house, but I may find another location to situate it. But for right now, it's there. But I am going to need to do that soon if I'm going to move it. I'm going to fill it with soil. So those 2 big planters, 2 of these the biggest mums will go in there. And I am still working on planting my native plants. I did get a plant haul about a week or so ago, and they're still in their pots. They are right along there. Take you in. And I do plan to do a video kind of showing you guys everything that I got as I'm getting ready to get them planted. So there's the rest of my native bed there. I generally leave everything standing over the winter, and then I trim it back in spring before new growth starts. That's kind of my MO when it comes to perennials. And I pick up these metal sunflowers here and there over the years when I see those. I think I mostly find those at Joann. There's another one down there. And I've got a couple more in this concrete planter there. I just love them. And actually these orangey color ones, they're a little smaller. They stayed in that planter all year. I never put them in over the winter or from last fall. They just made me so happy to look at. And I did buy all those, the new plant haul that I'm going to share with you guys, but I'm just waiting until we get a little more rain to plant them because the ground is still pretty hard. We have gotten rain a few times during September, which was so nice, and unfortunately the reason that we got rain, it was kind of on the outskirts or remnants, or because of the fact that the hurricane went through the southeast. Unfortunately, it was such a horrific thing, and my heart is with everyone who was impacted by that. Being a little further north in Ohio, we got some rain as a result of that. So it was good to get the rain, but not because of that reason. But because we've had rain a few times, the ground's kind of softened up, but it's still, it's a loud bird, it's still pretty hard. So I'm waiting till hopefully we'll get a little bit more rain. Can you guys hear that? To get the rest of my perennials planted, and I have a couple of shrubs and one small tree sapling to get in. And you can get those planted anytime throughout the fall, even pretty late, as long as the ground can be worked. At least that's what I've always understood and has always worked for me. You can keep planting up until the ground is too hard to be worked, and you do have to water those in even though it's cooler as you're planting those. Even it's later in the fall, closer to winter, you still got to get those watered in and get them established. So that is about all I have to share with you guys this time, and I think next time I'm going to share with you guys the perennials that I got in my plant haul. And in the meantime, I hope that you have a great week. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.